Hello and welcome to another episode of Nerds Amalgamated. I'm the Professor and my co-host is the DJ. How are you going, DJ?
I'm good. Friday, been good. A couple of cool things happened this week, such as the release of a very, very good movie.
Of course you're going about the Snyder Cut.
I know.
I'm just happy it's finally out so you can stop talking about it.
It's so good.
Look, I'm putting a moratorium on this. This is the last time you can talk about the Snyder Cut. So where did it come from?
Oh, what do you mean, where did it come from?
Well, you want to talk about the origins of it. That's your topic for the week.
I was just going to say something nice about it, though, but I was going to say, how was your day as well before you came into where did it come from?
Oh, not bad. Things broke, I fixed them. People were like, yeah, you fixed the computers, you saved us. And I'm like, you don't have to treat me like I just saved the world, but I'm not going to complain too much.
You make it sound like your work, nothing happened, but your workers make it sound like you're the best thing that happened since sliced bread.
I know, it's weird. There's a very different level of esteem that they have for me compared to my self-esteem.
Next thing you know, someone will be saying, I want your babies or something like that.
Please no. No, like, I think there's only one, maybe two women in my office younger than me. Most of them, and I'm not like having a dig at older women, but most of them are significantly older than me and are already married. So no, I don't think that's going to happen. Anyway, I'm an IT guy. I'm not a superhero. People aren't like that for IT guys.
Hey! Sooner or later, if a superhero sort of thing, they'll name you the Professor. Superpower, IT know-it-allism.
Anyway, DJ, speaking of superheroes.
So,
what is the Snyder Cut? Why do you not shut up about it?
So the Snyder Cut is basically also the full title is known as Zack Snyder's Justice League, and the story goes that Zack Snyder was making the Justice League movie just after Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice. So he was on the process of making the movie, and then he left the project, I think 2 or 3 months later because of family issues and whatnot. So Joss Whedon was sent in to make the movie, and the movie was given lukewarm reception.
Well, it's a DC superhero movie, so that's kind of good praise for it.
Yeah, but then the problem with Joss Whedon's Joss Whedon's actually no, wait a minute. I say who's it says here Zack Snyder did the Justice League movie as well. Huh. Wait.
Well, apparently I've only sort of skimmed the memes, but from what I saw, there wasn't a whole lot that ended up in the film that Joss Whedon actually filmed.
Oh yeah, he took over the post-production.
Yeah, so it's mostly Zack Snyder work that was edited by Joss Whedon. Yeah. Apart from a little bit of, what's the term for it? Pickups, reshoots?
Yeah, reshoots, yeah,
and then this version of it, from what I've gathered, is Snyder going back through and making a sort of director's cut with all of the original shots that he planned to have.
Yeah. Which
is why it is so much longer.
Yeah.
What's the length difference there?
4 hours compared to 120 minutes in the Justice League movie.
You know what people are going to remember in 100 years? The Lord of the Rings trilogy. They're not going to remember this.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I'll tell all about it on the Nerdful Things part. Okay, but for this one, with the Snyder Cut, it was basically came out after a lot of fanfare. So people were like saying, yes, really, there was like a Twitter movement going on saying hashtag release the Snyder Cut, and so on and so forth. There were a lot of people were complaining. A lot of people were saying like release the Snyder Cut, like from Kevin Smith to comic book writers like Rob Liefeld, Robert Kirkman, Jerry Ordway. A lot of people were saying about this Then,
And that's been hilariously parodied by Release the Butthole Cut for the Cats movie.
oh no, I don't want to think about
I'm kind of disappointed that that's just a meme. Not that I'd want to watch the Butthole Cut, but it's such a good story that they had to go through and edit out the buttholes.
Oh, that would have been so. Oh man, if they were that desperate, why not just go to Brazzers or good old Pornhub for that to happen? So the cut was announced on last year. Yeah, it was last year. So on a Q&A on May 2020, so Snyder announced during a Q&A after an online watch party of Man of Steel that his cut of Justice League will be released as Zack Snyder's Justice League on HBO Max in 2021, and people lost their minds. They were like, "Oh my god, this is gonna happen! Oh my god!" So now the movie has now that the movie has arrived. People are all asking for what was the origin story of that, and so Zack did a couple of interviews about it, and there were some really telling messages from the articles. So couple of lines were said like, so the truth is, I was in such a desperation, I didn't care. You know what? Good riddance to Justice League, he says. I was like, guys, really? You're gonna give me a hard time? Let's go. I'll fight you right now. He goes on to say, I was not in the mood for that kind of thing. I felt like we've done a great job and the movie was done. Even the 2 hour and 20 minutes version that the studio had knocked me down to. And then he continues on saying, almost every movie I've ever made has a director's cut. Okay, when I said, okay, I'm done, I told one of the directors I worked with, put it together as best as you can, give it to me. A bunch of my inner circle buddies who worked on the movie always talked about, oh, maybe we should drop a thumb drive somewhere, let a fan find it. And I was like, that's funny because I think it's better if it just lives as this thing and no one will ever see I've lost my appetite for the fight. Professor?
I'm here. I'm just listening to your prattle. So did they drop a USB drive? How is it that they decided to actually release it?
They decided to release it.
Is this Warner Brothers trying to make money back, realizing that they've made bugger all last year?
That's what I was thinking as well. Like it felt like Warner Brothers was saying like, you know what, we kind of screwed the fans over, but yeah, we'll.
What I mean is, did they pick that up like a year ago before everyone knew they'd be in lockdown for most of the year in many countries, particularly the US, which is all they seem to care about in the movie studios? We could have gone to watch Dune in cinemas last year. I'm still bitter.
What? Let me guess. You still haven't left that part in the grief cycle, haven't you?
Nope, I'm still bitter. But they're releasing it. They announced a year ago, not knowing that people would be in lockdown for a year. Then announced that it would be going straight to HBO Max. So maybe, like, what I'm wondering is, did they see the writing on the wall about public gatherings? Because even in Australia, where we've got COVID pretty controlled, we still have limits on public events. So did they see the writing on the wall about that and decide to release it on streaming to make back at least a little bit of money because they're not doing any releases this year? Well, last year.
I don't think they really said anything about releasing it on streaming and stuff, but they did say that the management that he often clashed, the media company that they clashed with on Justice League, that being on different, being under a different management, they actually allowed him to put his version up. They said the question was basically similar to what he said was, and now the same media company you clashed with on Justice League under different management is letting you put out your version of it. And his answer was, I appreciate that. I really do. This movie wouldn't exist if it wasn't for HBO Max. I'm eternally grateful for them, and the viewing experience is still a hugely high quality. It's really
so they're admitting DC superhero movies aren't worth releasing in cinemas.
Yeah,
Because nobody watches them.
To continue on, says it's in the same aspect ratio as First Cow. Those two movies share a common DNA, I think. I really
What's special about that? What's First Cow?
First Cow, I think it was second. First Cow is a 2019 American drama movie, and hang on a second. It looks like it's it's something in relation with the 1820s, but give me a second. They said here, the film was shot in the 4:3 aspect ratio. So I think that's what. 4:3 aspect ratio. I think that's what's
weird.
Yeah.
Like that's square, basically.
Yep.
So you've watched it. Is it actually square, or do they crop it?
I'll do more. Okay. Yeah. It was 4:3. It was 4:3 as well. But I think when they bring the Blu-ray and stuff, I think they will expand it a bit more. But yeah.
Well, if they shot it in 4:3, their only real option for converting to widescreen is to pan and scan, which is not a great option.
Yeah.
Although on the other hand, you get shows like Star Trek, which was filmed in widescreen or something wider than 4:3, but blocked for 4:3. So you can get widescreen cuts of Star Trek, but then you see like mic booms and stuff because nobody planned it out for widescreen.
Which Star Trek are you talking about? Are you talking about the Next Gen or just Star Trek in general?
I don't remember which particular series it was.
Fair enough. But he does have So another question was that to draw an intentional contrast with what Marvel is doing in the movies? And he wrote, I knew it before Batman vs Superman when we made Man of Steel. Marvel is doing something else. They're doing they're being successful. Yeah, they're doing at the highest level this popular action comedy with a heart, and they have that nailed. An effort to duplicate that is insanity because they're so good at it.
So why are they trying to duplicate it?
I think it was
all he's saying is obvious. We know copying Marvel was a bad idea, so why does DC keep copying Marvel?
I think it was Warner Brothers that were trying to do that because they were trying to make it like how because Marvel had done it, why don't we do it? Because it's money. It's the money thing.
Yeah, I suppose maybe he disagreed with it, but not Marvel. Warner Brothers pushed him into it.
Yeah, they said what DC has was mythology and epic level, and we're going to take them to this amazing journey. Frankly, I was the only one saying that.
I think it would be a shame if they made DC movies without mythology.
One question was, how did you end up with enough footage for a 4-hour movie? And he goes, I do it on every movie. I tend to shoot a lot, but it's really carefully done. It's not like we're just running a second camera. Everything is very methodical, thought out. When I sit down to draw the movie is different than the movie the studio wants or that anybody knows about. So when asked about the questions, whether they're going to make further Justice League movies, and what would happen in them, this is his version of it. So it is the fall of Earth when Superman succumbs to anti-life and then sends Flash back in time to change one element so that doesn't happen. And then the big battle where we beat him. When
is that the plot of Snyder Cut?
That's the plot of future of Justice League movies. If the Snyder Cut became the Snyder universe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So this was what's going to happen in the future Justice League movies. So like the Darkseid comes to Earth, and in the movie you will never see him, and the armies of Earth all unite as they did before, and this time there will be aircraft carriers and special forces guys, and all the armies of the world will come together, as well as Atlanteans and Themyscirans coming off their island. This would be one big finale. It's a long drum roll and guitar solo to get there.
How is that not copying Infinity War?
I think it's just more of a human element to it, like normal people rather than like you see in Infinity War, it's just like tons and tons of superpowered human beings.
Then why make a superhero movie?
I mean, superheroes are meant to be like this like a special individual out of millions and billions of people kind of thing. You know, like Spider-Man, for example. What are the odds? Like one person would get bitten by this mutated spider and get superpowers. So it'd be like
quite a lot, actually, because it seems to happen every 5 years or so when they reboot it.
I knew you were going to bring out the Spider-Man reference. I mean, if that happens to every other hero movie, I'll be pretty funny. Oh, and you were saying about Marvel movies copying the same thing. Here's another interesting bit for it. So when you see what Marvel is doing in its movies, do you ever think I should be doing more of that? He goes, no, not at all. I don't know how to hit a ball any different than I hit it. Any director has one skill, your point of view. That's all you have. If you're trying to imitate another way of making a movie, then you're on a slippery slope. I mean, he's got a point.
Yeah, he's got a point. They've just flopped it. Because they, he doesn't want to do what Marvel does. So they rush into doing the collaboration movie before they've set up the characters. So nobody cares who the characters are. And everyone complains about how it's all a big mess. Yeah.
Was it Coppola said that same sentiment as well? So, I mean, if Zack Snyder says that, that's kind of telling. That's really telling.
Yeah, so I reckon, they shouldn't be copying Marvel, but whatever it is they're doing it wrong. Because they just aren't, They're trying to not copy Marvel by skipping the first 9 steps in Marvel's 10-step plan.
But here's the question though. Like, part of the problem with Marvel is when they always do this like big 10-step plans and they have this build up and stuff. But at the same time, it's always, oh yeah, we're catering to the fans. We're doing this for the fans kind of thing. Like if a fan wants to see another Iron Man, wants to see an Iron Man movie, what's to stop Disney from going, yeah, we'll make another Iron Man movie?
You mean like Sony has with Spider-Man every 5 years?
Yeah. Yeah. And like, what was it with Venom? But what I'm trying to say is like the fans would be saying like, I want more Marvel movies. We want more Marvel movies kind of thing.
Well, they clearly are because Marvel movies keep making boatloads of money.
Yeah. And for the last part, actually last 2 parts. So the last 2 questions was, one of the question was, do you think your Justice League has broader implications for the film industry and the lengths that studios will continue on to cater to audiences? And his response was, this is a social experiment. For millions of people, it's, oh, look, a giant superhero movie. I guess that's cool. But then for a large portion of my fans, it comes custom made. As a viewer, you have the perception more than ever that the movie was made singularly for you as you watch it. It is the culmination of this entire experience. I fought and used this hashtag release the Snyder Cut, and it's my world in my computer, on my TV, in my house.
Did he say it's made for you and you only?
Yeah.
You and everyone else who retweeted it. Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, he says, I don't think anyone can quantify what that means yet. That's his end sentence. And at the end of it,
I think he's waffling. Much like you do. He's saying bullshit to fill in time.
And at the end of it, he goes, what will you do? So the last question was, what will you do when it's finally released? I have to go to the dentist on the 18th? That's how my day is going to be.
Well, that's... I didn't need to know that. Tell me something interesting.
But yeah, basically, I think he's trying to say is that the Snyder Cut was his love child and everybody should enjoy it, enjoy watching it. Like, it was his hard work and sweat and tears put into it, and we should all enjoy it. But as much as I like to say that the Snyder Cut is going to be a great movie to watch, I don't know whether I'm hating the fact that we won't see much more of the Snyderverse as people would like to term it.
Why not?
Because it's now deemed canon, the original Justice League movie. So and plus I think the Warner Brothers will be having other plans as well. So
fair enough. So, moving on to people who should be shot out of a cannon, EA has screwed up again.
Not again.
Yep. Have you ever played an EA sports game
Hell yeah.
in the last 10 years or so?
Yeah, the FIFA games were addictive.
Well, that's the issue we're having here. FIFA is a problem.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No.
There's... Eurogamer cracked open a black market from an EA employee selling directly selling characters without any of the loot box shenanigans. They're selling, 1,000 euros for 2 moments, whatever that means exactly. So you can just dump money on this guy and he'll give you stuff without you having to play the loot box lotto.
What? That easy?
Yeah. Oh, here we go. Moments are special prime icon moments. They're special versions of icon cards, which are when you're building your team, it's sort of like a deck builder. You have a deck of character cards, and that represents a game or tournament that was special for the player.
Okay, so kind of like those trap cards you see in Yu-Gi-Oh and stuff like that.
No.
Okay.
More like a shiny card or a misprint. Those cards that turn up that are worth millions.
Oh, okay.
That, except you get them out of loot boxes. Which, to be honest, random card packs for Yu-Gi-Oh or Magic or whatever are kind of, baby's first loot box. At least for people in our generation.
Oh, yeah.
Because loot boxes weren't a thing yet. Kids these days don't know what they've grown up with.
Oh my god, we're sounding like old people now.
Yeah. Growing up with loot boxes for your entire life. What does that do to a person?
Remember the day when loot boxes was never a thing?
Yeah. So while EA investigates their employees to find out who's doing this, they've decided the best option is to indefinitely stop you buying the loot packs.
Ooh, I don't think that's gonna work.
No. That kind of makes it, makes it harder to get the characters. So
not only makes it harder, it just ruins the fun of the game. That's like, I mean,
well, how much fun is opening 500 loot boxes to hope you get the character you want?
Oh yeah, that's I don't think. Yeah, well, you're right. It's not that fun, but that's the scary part. Like, we always say gambling is evil and stuff like that, but when and gambling stuff, but then it's now so ingrained. It's always that hype of, oh, I wonder if I get this card. I wonder if I get this card. Come on.
And that's how they get you, DJ. And sorry, correction, I misunderstood. They're not stopping you from buying the loot boxes. They're stopping staff from giving out characters. So I just had to double check a definition there. They were characters could be given out by staff, custom characters, particularly for famous people. Apparently, famous players have their own cards of them highly rated versions of themselves, which are given out by EA employees. So now they've suspended that.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it's a sensible move.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, it's a sensible move. I mean, like, you're not, like, doing this whole thing, it feels like doing this whole thing initially, it's like a conflict of interest.
Yeah, though giving out, like, really high-powered characters to famous people does feel a bit it's a bit of a problem because your average person can't compete against someone with high-powered characters as easily. It's not pay to win because you're not paying, but you're famous anyway, so it's famous to win.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. And like, I was watching Young Ye about this, and yeah, he made an interesting video about it as well, like saying you have to play 2.5 years straight or spend $110,000 just to have a top tier ultimate team. And this is a FIFA player saying it. Yes,
he I'm not sure if it was him that my source had, but my source had same number of hours but $80,000, probably a conversion rate thing. Is Young Ye an Australian?
American.
Oh, okay. Might be a conversion or a miscalculation. Probably someone's come up with their own numbers somewhere too.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's tens of thousands of dollars to come up with the ultimate team with all the ultimate team cards.
And you don't need to play anything at all. My God.
No. Or how many hours did you say again?
2.5 years straight.
Yeah. And keep in mind, that's for a game that's only really valid for 1 year. Because next year, the next FIFA comes out. And because it's a sports game, everyone migrates. And then you've spent the whole year grinding straight, not sleeping somehow, to get less than halfway to your goal. And it's suddenly worthless because you can't transfer characters across. If you have unspent premium currency, you can transfer that, but you can't transfer your characters. That would be silly.
Nah, you can't. And not to mention, like, most of the teams that let's say the team build that you built up now, next year their stats will be changed. So might be changed significantly. Like, some might be changed a lot less. But yeah,
I do quite enjoy that there are projects for things like the original Tecmo Bowl. I spoke about it a few months ago, but there are projects for things like Tecmo Bowl where they add custom teams through ROM hacks so that this game from the 90s has 2020's teams and rankings in it.
Oh,
I enjoy that as a way of sticking it to the man. You got a group of dedicated fans who don't want to be, don't want to be churned over for endless amounts of money, or play a game that is worse 1 year after another, because they take features away. They don't even maintain feature parity from year to year.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the biggest culprit for that would be Madden, and how they changed so bad. Well, I wouldn't say change so badly. They changed stuff, and most of the changes that you see are all copy and pasted as well.
Yeah, sports fans, they don't care about you. They know you'll buy the game because you have no other option to play a FIFA game. If you want to play a soccer game with real teams and real characters, you'll pay the money because you have to. And that's why they get away with bullshit like this. And that's why you see games like, I think Pro Evolution Soccer has a knockoff teams roster where every team kind of sounds and looks a bit like the real thing, but just enough that they don't get sued.
Yeah, but put it this way though: would you rather play against actual? Would you rather play with like actual teams with actual stars and stuff, and with all the brands and stuff, or would you rather play a game that has that doesn't really have all the licensing and it's just a knockoff?
Exactly, that's my point. The people who want to play a game with the licensing only have one place to go. Yeah,
and that's FIFA.
Yeah.
Do you reckon this whole this whole E-Gate situation makes it sound like the Watergate saga is a 2-bit operation at this point? Like, everybody's doing this.
Watergate's still bigger because it affected an entire country's political system.
But do you reckon this will change the gaming landscape as a whole?
No, I don't think this is going to have a big change. I think the only change is when people vote with their wallet on this case. If EA, if FIFA, because FIFA is the one responsible for licensing to EA, sees that EA isn't pulling players because of predatory loot box tactics and other irresponsible stuff like this, they might think about giving it to a different company. Do you remember EA got in trouble for over the Star Wars license?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they weren't making enough money on the Star Wars license because they put out rubbish games and bad PR. And now the Star Wars license isn't solely EA's anymore.
Yeah, who's it now?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I know. I do recall that the EA pulled off the Star Wars license was pulled off to EA, but I forgot who was it given to. I would need to check that one out.
Yeah, I think the other thing that will push them is, but not enough because they will still have the loot boxes, is government mandates to release things like the odds on the loot box. So, as an example, Pokemon Go added, well, they have kind of loot boxes. There are eggs that you can hatch by walking a certain distance. And when you walk that distance, the egg triggers and hatches and gives you a random Pokemon from a selection. Until very recently, and now they're trialing it, that's completely opaque. You don't know what you're going to get, like a box of chocolates. But now, although every box of chocolates I've ever seen has either a window on it or a label that tells you what's in there, so maybe that was a better metaphor back in the 90s when that movie was made. But now you can view what options are in the egg. So I think that's probably a response to government pressure to curb microtransaction gambling.
Yeah.
Because while you can't buy eggs, you can buy incubators which let you hatch the eggs.
And not to mention, it will also depend on the studio's discretion on whether they want to add in loot boxes entirely, wouldn't it?
Yeah, if well, what I want to see as an end goal is for companies to stop using loot boxes as major money-making tools. Unfortunately, that's not really going to happen because of the way the industry has gone, and it's such an effective way to make money.
Oh, yeah.
But I think, microtransactions, I think, are painful but annoying as long as they're just for cosmetics. If they change the, if it's pay to win, get that out of here. If it's random chance and completely opaque, get it out of here. Because, players are obviously turning to this. If the value of an elite player card is, in some cases, a couple of $1,000s from this article, then clearly that's because players are expecting to get a benefit off the black market for a couple of $1,000 rather than spending it on the legitimate loot boxes for a couple of $1,000.
Yeah. It's like a shortcut. Why go through the hassle of a loot box when you can go through the direct source and just get what you want?
Yeah, so clearly the value of these characters in players' minds is a couple of $1,000. I don't know how that compares to the odds of actually getting the Pokemon getting the player from loot boxes, but players must think it's a worthwhile trade-off. So how ridiculously unbalanced, we know how much, because we have those sources, tens of thousands of dollars to get the full team.
Yeah, and it's also the fact that it's like Fallout 76 when they had the developer room glitch. I don't know if you're familiar with that story, where someone figured out the developer room where you can get all this exclusive loot.
Of course, that's a traditional thing for Bethesda. Of course, they left that in a bloody multiplayer game. Honestly, I would be surprised if they hadn't. Typical Bethesda.
Oh, I know. So the funniest part was, when Bethesda caught wind of this, they decided to send an email and saying like, "Hey, hi Cheetah, if you tell us how you got this legendary loot, and we'll unlock your account. If you can't, then go screw yourself."
Well, I can kind of understand that.
Yeah, but can you imagine EA pulling that sort of a stunt though? Like, say,
EA doesn't need the bad PR, which is why I would totally expect them to do it. Could EA good PR for EA is not a thing that.
But the point I'm trying to make is, like, could you see EA just police the hell out of this thing, or hey you, how did you get this legendary player? Just we'll
Well,
lock
they
your
are
account.
promising to ban everyone who did this.
Yeah, good luck with that.
I don't think it'll be hard to track. I
Could
think it'll probably be fairly easy for them to figure this out because they just need to, if their system has any sort of security at all, there should be a log in the database for which employee account gave out a particular item. But we'll move along. But before we do, the most ridiculous part is this quote from EA. This alleged behavior is unacceptable, and in no way do we condone granting or purchasing player items in exchange for money.
in the exact words, I would say this, bruh.
Yeah. They didn't think that through well. Later, they say we do not allow the trade or sale of items outside our game. For many reasons, including that it would create an unequal playing field for our community. Real-world trading is banned in most games. So that's understandable, but we don't condone granting or purchasing player items in exchange for money. Meanwhile, they're just taking all your money for the loot boxes, which they call surprise mechanics.
And baseball cards. Remember that one? Remember that chestnut?
Yep.
Oh man, EA, you never stop changing. EA, never change.
EA are the people who got bored of digging a hole and hired a bigger digging machine. Moving on to other horrible creatures. The cone snail, which is a beautiful shell that you should never ever touch because it will kill you. Lives in tropical waters and hunts worms by releasing pheromones. So not only are they ambush predators, they shoot out they have this little tentacle with a harpoon on it. So even if you pick them up from the back, they can spin around and shoot you.
Ooh. And is the venom deadly?
It can be. Ugh. So some researchers have found a species, Conus imperialis, which is a very pretty one. But never pick it up even if you think it's dead, because it might not be and it will ruin your day. It lives off bristleworms, and it hunts them by pretending to be another bristleworm out for a bit of happy adult fun time. It releases pheromones for the bristleworms. All the other bristleworms in the area think, oh, they smell good. Let's go check them out. And they get over there. And then the cone snail kills them and eats them.
Makes it sound like some terrible, terrible movie. Like, yes, this cone snail has the power to kill people. To kill its other species. How does it do it? No one ever knows.
Can you imagine being on Tinder and just every now and then you swipe and you get murdered, which actually probably... Oh, no, that's not really a joke, I guess, because that probably happens more often than it should, which is never. But I'm sure there's been at least a handful of people who have been murdered on a date they got on Tinder.
Yeah.
What's also interesting is that each species of cone snail uses its own particular venom. So one type uses artificial fish insulin and kills its prey that way. So researchers, who are a lot braver than I am, because I wouldn't be going things with a 10-foot pole, are collecting cone snail venom for experimental drugs. One of them is Prialt, which is a painkiller.
Can you imagine they make an aphrodisiac out of this?
Not for people, for the bristleworms. People don't do pheromones like that. If they do, it's not as strong as for worms. So, although the cone snails aren't known to actually eat bristleworms, it seems likely that they eat other worms which react the same way. And it just happens to be that they had bristleworms in the lab.
I mean, it's very interesting seeing the how the world of sea sea creatures operate in the ocean.
Yeah, it's a really interesting method of hunting. Lure hunters are actually really interesting because they're all based around some aspect that their prey desires and lure them in and then eat them. Cone snails apparently use pheromones. Anglerfish use light.
Yeah, and
some animals have body parts that look like other animals' body parts. And when their prey thinks, oh look, there's a nice bit of prey, boo! You get eaten.
It'll be interesting if they're using in human applications this sort of hunting, not hunting strategy. If they use this venom for like other fields like medicine and whatnot.
One of my favorites is the death adder. Actually, it hides itself and wiggles its tail. So oh look, a little worm flies down to eat it, and then the death adder eats it.
Isn't that similar to the rattlesnake though? Or is it? I know
the rattle is a warning.
Ah, okay.
Because snakes don't generally like to bite you, because venom production is biologically expensive, and they snakes don't want to bite you because you're bigger than them and you could severely injure them. They know they can't eat you, so they kind of just rattle to say bugger off.
Because they're mostly territorial, aren't they?
I don't know if they are.
If there are any snake experts in our listeners, please let us know how do snakes operate. We would like to hear from you.
Yeah, snakes are pretty cool.
Can you imagine employing this sort of tactic in other animals? Like, can you imagine lions doing this?
I don't want to.
Actually, no. Imagine the penguins doing this. Oh God.
Penguins lure us in with their cuteness.
Oh, hail the mighty penguins! Oh, hail the mighty penguins!
So, on to our nerdful things. DJ, what have you done?
So, as I said...
We know already, but...
Yeah, we know already. So, the Snyder Cut. Oh, I saw the Snyder Cut. All 4 hours of it.
It has an intermission, doesn't it?
It does have an intermission, but that's if you're watching it on TV, though. I saw it straight off on streaming services. But yeah, that makes the Justice League movie, the shorter version, look like a Saturday morning cartoon show. And I don't want to spoil much because there are some good details that they cut off in the other one, but yeah, in this version there are the soundtrack's good. There is a lot of good cinematography. The pacing was good as well. How they paced it from has a slow build up to a nice crescendo moment and a very humbling ending.
So when you say it makes the other one look like a cartoon,
yeah, is
that because the CGI is better or because it's really dark?
It's really dark, and there's not the happy-go-lucky humor that you saw in you would see in the first, you would see in a Marvel movie, for example. Like there's always the happy-go-lucky humor, it's so funny. You think there's not much humor in it. In the Snyder Cut, it's dark, it's broody. There is a lot of tension in it. There's a lot at stake in the movie. With the Marvel movies, there is a lot of tension, but you don't see that much tension. And the villains in this movie are more intimidating than what you see in the Marvel movie, for example. Like Thanos, with the exception of Thanos, but the other characters like Loki and Ultron and your solo and the solo movie villains as well. So they're not that intimidating. So yeah, that's what makes Snyder Cut really good to watch.
So what would you rate it?
As much as I enjoy that movie, I would give it a 4.5 out of 5. There are some the long hours was the one thing that kind of yeah, I know it's a long movie, but damn, 4 hours, that makes Bollywood movies look like TV show. That make Bollywood movies look like TV shows.
I heard you the first time, DJ.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, I've been playing Spelunky, not Spelunky 2. I actually have had the original for a while, and then seeing the second one just came out recently, or is under development, made me think, I never actually got around to playing that. So I might as well do it. And it's addictive. You play as a spelunker, a caver, sort of like Indiana Jones, going to...
Sorry. So you have a magic whip as well?
Yeah, you have a whip. It's not magic per se, but you enter a cave in search of treasure. So it's a sort of randomized maze-like generation for the map with lots of Indiana Jones sort of adventure tropes.
Even the main
snakes. You have the hat.
Oh yeah, the hat. Yeah, I see it. Like you have the hat. It looks like Mario.
Okay, I don't know what you're smoking.
Oh no, I mean like look, I'm looking at the level design. It just looks a bit like Mario with all the platforms and whatnot.
Okay, sure, if you say so.
What's the biggest flaw you've encountered in this game so far?
Some of the deaths I've had feel a bit cheap, particularly with the shopkeeper. Sometimes I've accidentally angered a shopkeeper, and those guys are super fast, super strong. You basically can't fight them one-on-one. They will kill you and tear you to pieces.
Wow, shopkeepers fight back in this game?
Yeah.
Damn.
If you try to rob them, if you attack them, if you blow up their shop, which includes the rolling boulder. The rolling boulder destroys terrain. So if it rolls past their shop, they will get very upset with you because you triggered the boulder by stealing the idol. So I think 3.5 out of 5.
Yeah. Actually, I'll take that back about the Mario thing. It does not look like Mario at all.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
Yeah.
So we'll have a quick ad break and then be back with our shout-outs, birthdays, events, and occurrences. On with the shout-outs. On the 9th of March this year, Cliff Simon, a South African actor famous for being in Stargate SG-1, passed away at 58. His wife wrote, he was a true original, an adventurer, a sailor, swimmer, dancer, actor, and author. There was a gaping hole where he once stood on this earth. He was loved by too many dimensions and had a great impact on so many lives. He loved his fans and engaged with them on social media and regular convention appearances around the globe. He was killed in a kiteboarding accident at Topanga Beach in Malibu, California. On the 17th of March, 2021, we have the 15th anniversary of V for Vendetta. Everyone knows that mask and knows some edgy child using it.
Remember the 5th of November.
Yeah, that's an older thing, but it's being preserved by edgy children and by British people having Guy Fawkes parties.
Oh, yeah.
And on the 20th of March, we had the 15th anniversary of The Elder Scrolls Oblivion, the third game in the Elder Scrolls series, released on PC and Xbox 360 a year later on PlayStation 3. A mobile version of the game released on May 2nd, 2006. Is that...
Yep.
What kind of phone would even run that? It can't have been like a full RPG version. It's probably something like Elder Scrolls Blades.
I would say maybe like a Nokia Engage or something like that could do it.
I doubt it because the Bethesda engine's not known for it being optimized. I decided to search and all I can find is Android versions. So I'd have to look into that myself later. So this was the first of the sort of modern Elder Scrolls. The first two ran on a very different engine. Oh, the same roots, but there's a lot that happened in Oblivion for the first time. Sorry, I've messed this up entirely. This was the release of Oblivion, not Morrowind. I just completely skipped the line in the summary.
No!
So this is the fourth game. It was the first Elder Scrolls game to feature fully voiced NPCs and included the Radiant AI engine, which is a really interesting concept. Characters would have their own lives and go around their lives. You'd have to go and find them in bed if you turned up in the middle of the night. And yes, I found a source on the mobile Oblivion.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, on Java-enabled phones, which there were a few of at that time, Looks like you play as a different character, and it's a very stripped down, it's sort of a demake looking game. Looks more at home on a 16-bit console.
I can throw you one even better. There was an Oblivion mobile interview.
Okay.
So this interview was conducted in early 2006 by a website called ElderScrolls.net. Asked VIR2L President Douglas Frederick about development of Oblivion Mobile, with input from Greg Gordon and Brad Pitzer. Just load it up here, and it'll be on the show notes, folks. So
yeah, for remembrances, on the 15th of March 2007. We have Charles Harrelson. He is an American hitman and organized crime figure who assassinated the federal judge John H. Wood Jr., the first federal judge to be killed in the 20th century. He is the father of Woody Harrelson. According to Woody, his father disappeared from their home in 1968, leaving his wife to raise Woody and his brothers. Woody lost track of his father until news broke for the murder of Judge Wood in 1981. Woody says, "My father is one of the most articulate, well-read, charming people I've ever known. Still, I'm just now gauging whether he merits my loyalty or friendship. I look at him as someone who could be a friend more than someone who was a father." Charles Harrelson also claimed to be responsible for killing JFK, and then later said in an interview, "At the same time I said I had killed the judge, I said I had killed Kennedy, which might give you an idea to the state of my mind at the time."
This was while he was reportedly high on cocaine and a 6-hour standoff.
So, but come on, man, don't feed the conspiracy theorists.
But can you imagine just being high on coke and going on a 6-hour standoff after 6 hours?
Yep. He died at 68 from a heart attack in Florence AdMax USP in Colorado. For our famous birthdays, we have on the 15th of March 1866, John Vayler, a Norwegian inventor and patent clerk, erroneously identified as the inventor of the paperclip. In 1901, he designed a kind of paperclip consisting of a thread of wire, applied for a German patent in November that year. DJ, check the dates.
What do you mean? It was right.
Okay, US patent. You've still messed it up. You've said the German patent was granted in June.
I think he also filed it.
How was he? Yeah, but if he applied for the German patent in 1900, no, hold on, stick with me. Wikipedia is wrong. How often does this happen? Not often, because Wikipedia's got so many people double checking it, right?
Yeah.
This is the first time I personally have seen confirmed to be wrong. In 1901, Wikipedia says, in 1901, Vayler designed a kind of binding blah, blah, blah. He applied for a German patent on November 12th of that year. It was granted on June 6th, 1901. So his patent was granted before he ever applied. And of course, there's some mistake here. I'm going to go with the date that he submitted it, because I don't speak German, but pulling up the patent reference in German does have a date for July 1901.
Okay.
So I'm going to go with November was not the year he applied, was not the month that he applied. I wonder if that'll be on Google's patent archives. Anyway, I'm going to look into this later. Oh, might be my first Wikipedia edit. Ooh. We're not putting this out until I find the truth. So, unfortunately, despite getting patents in the US and Norway in 1901, well, US and Germany, really, a more functional paperclip was already being produced in Britain by a British gem manufacturing company, but was not yet marketed in Norway. The British design was superior because it had 2 loops of wire. And because patent authorities were quite liberal and rewarded marginal modification of inventions with patents, he was able to get the foreign patents.
That's like getting like, oh, I have this water bottle, but I made it. I've been granted a patent because the water bottle neck is longer than the traditional ones.
Yeah. So the first paperclip was patented in the US in 1867, but the British gem type has never been patented. The gem is the modern paperclip that everyone knows. During World War II, Norwegians wore paperclips on their lapels as a symbol of resistance to the local Nazi authorities. The clips were to denote solidarity and unity. Johan was born in Oskog, Holland, Akershus.
I like how the paperclip has just become cult status at this point.
I like the quote, "We are bound together." That makes sense. And if you see someone wearing a paperclip, you're not going to think, "He's the resistance." We have one. Oh, sorry.
It's like the good old Razor gangs. It's like, he's got a Razor gang. He's a gang member.
Yeah, well, also unfortunately for Johan, I might have called him John earlier, but it's Johan Vela. The commemorative stamp and statue both show the gem paperclip rather than the Vela paperclip.
Oh, awkward. No. That did not age well.
Yeah, someone messed up going and building the wrong paperclip. So we have one more birthday. William Gibson, author of quite possibly the best introductory sentence to a book I've ever read. He was commissioned to write Neuromancer by Terry Carr of Ace Science Fiction Specials. Given a year to complete the work, he took it out of Blind Animal Terror. Had the obligation to write an entire novel, which he felt he was 4 or 5 years away from. In 1982, he saw the first 20 minutes of Blade Runner and thought, there's no way anybody's going to read my book because it's just ripped off from Blade Runner. Yeah, it's a very similar aesthetic in Neuromancer as there was in Blade Runner.
He's also the guy that did Johnny Mnemonic, wasn't he?
Yeah, Johnny Mnemonic was an earlier short story.
Huh.
But yeah, his sprawl books are all really good. And a lot of people only really know Neuromancer. The other books are good as well, I think. But anyway, the quote I'm absolutely in love with is the opening line. "The sky above the port was the color of television, tuned to a dead channel." Which, there's multiple ways to do that, depending on when you were born. So, born far enough back, a dead channel, it's just going to be static. And that's kind of how the sky looks on a rainy night in a city with terrible light pollution. And I love that imagery. Thing is that if you're born a bit later, it's bright blue because TVs for a while had bright blue no signal displays. And then even later after that, it's black, usually with a box that says no signal, which I'd be a bit worried about if I saw it in the sky.
Well, it make it sound like it's the Truman Show.
Yeah. So Neuromancer was one of the first mainstream cyberpunk stories and is kind of the one that really captures cyberpunk. Like, Blade Runner has cyberpunk aesthetic, but it's sort of less cyberpunk than the book, which is, it's... I could talk for hours about cyberpunk history. I'm not going to. Not yet, anyway. And what's amazing is that William Gibson, who's responsible for, creating cyberpunk literature, he wrote this all on a typewriter. He didn't own a computer. Even now, he's not really a computer person, from what I've gathered. Oh,
that must suck, though. Can you imagine there's like a little bit of a typo in the paragraph? And you're like, damn it, I have to retype this whole damn thing. Yeah, that was life for people for over 100 years. I wonder what would William Gibson say about cyberpunk nowadays, though, as a genre. What would he say? I swear I've heard what he had to say about in the last couple of years, but now I don't remember what it was. I might look that up and see if I can find it for the show notes. But one of his other quotes that I love is, "The future is already here, it's just not evenly distributed," which is one of the themes of cyberpunk, that you have a really stratified society of rich people with all the cool tech, poor people who have the cool tech cobbled together from whatever junk they find lying around, and being gangsters and druggies and all of that in high-tech world. Imagine William Gibson playing Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah, I wonder what his thoughts are on it.
I bet you he would say, like, what the hell is this game? This is nothing like what I imagined. Actually, no, you know, be an even better game. Deus Ex. Imagine him playing that.
I'd be interested to hear what he thinks about modern cyberpunk stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, he's got a really interesting perspective, even though he's not like a big tech guy. And his birthday was on the 17th of March, and he is 73 years old. And for events of interest this week, we have another one on the 15th of March, 1967. And the movie is titled Frankenstein Created Woman.
No, God did not create woman. Frankenstein did.
Well, first God created woman, then Frankenstein created woman. So directed by Terence Fisher and starring Peter Cushing and Susan Denberg. Baron Frankenstein acquired the body of a dead young maiden, Christina, and decides to use the soul of a recently executed young man to bring her back to life. With the memories of the young man intact, she starts to kill the people whose false accusations led to the man's murder. And it's the fourth film in Hammer's Frankenstein series.
Apparently the Hammer movies are really out there.
Yeah, and Martin Scorsese picked the movie as part of the 1987 National Film Theatre season of his favourite films, saying, if I single this one out, it's because here they actually isolate the soul. The implied metaphysics are close to something sublime. I didn't know you could get so philosophical about the fourth movie in a Hammer horror series, but he did.
So, for those curious, what are the Hammer horror ones? These are the original series of films consisting of seven installments, and they were starring iconic horror actors such as Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee as Baron Victor Frankenstein and his creature, respectively. The Hammer horror. It's actually from the Hammer Film Productions, which is a British film production company based in London. In 1934, they're best known for a series of gothic horror and fantasy films from the mid-1950s until the 1970s. So you could say these are the granddads.
So that's all we have for this week. Actually, no, it's not quite. I forgot about the TNC shout-out. One of the newest podcasts to join That's Not Canon, which recently passed over 100 member podcasts, is Mordor She Wrote.
Oh, yeah.
It's a podcast about two girls. One's a self-acclaimed Tolkien scholar. One doesn't know anything about Tolkien. Reading through Lord of the Rings and discussing it.
One chapter at a time.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's going to take them a while, but...
Where are they going to start, though? I mean, there's so much of it, isn't there?
Well, you start with chapter 1.
I get that, but there's a lot. There are a lot more.
Well,
there's the backstory and the.
Yeah, you can probably they've got a Tolkien scholar, or at least someone who wants to be one. So you kind of just start with the Lord of the Rings, and then you go into the backstory. You wouldn't want to start with the Silmarillion because that's basically the Bible. That's all we have for tonight. So you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and
Instagram.
DJ, I can't do this. You do.
They can find us also on that'snotcanon.com, where we have an archive of our old episodes and also some new That's Not Canon podcasts. You can also find us on YouTube, where we have a YouTube channel now. We'll be getting that. We'll be getting some YouTube content up and running, hopefully.
Yeah. So look after yourself, stay hydrated, and we'll see you next week.
See you guys.